Welcome to episode 6 of Stepping Off with the DC Foot Doctor podcast. I'm Dr. Kevin Jefferson, podiatrist located in Washington, D.C. Today's episode will be about direct care medicine. That's the delivery of healthcare outside of the insurance system. This is a very good opportunity for myself and others to learn about different ways doctors can interact with their patients and be able to maintain a healthy practice. Joining me in this episode is Dr. T from Santa Cruz, California, and Dr. Tar from Tempe, Arizona. I like this format because I get to share with my colleagues from around the country to see what they have to offer. First, I'm going to have Dr. T introduce herself, let her know where she is and what's going on. Go ahead, Dr. T.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm a fan of both you and Dr. Tar. Social media has really brought us all together. We all have the same common denominator in wanting to practice medicine in the way that we most value it for the benefit of our patients. So I'm Dr. T. I own a direct care podiatry practice in Santa Cruz, California, called Pacific Point Podiatry. I started my private practice journey after my fellowship. In 2015, I did a wound healing fellowship where most of my attention was focused on people with diabetes who were at risk for a leg amputation. And then I got an employed position that didn't work out. I had a daughter in 2018. I needed a life type of work-life flexibility, so decided to take on another child in the way of my private practice. I opened up that business in 2018, and my daughter followed me along the way. So it was really important for me to have a type of workplace that would be inviting for all family members and my daughter to come in and out as she needed, because I was really the predominant caretaker in the family. And so that's pretty much why I decided to have a private practice that was free of insurance, because number one, it gave me time to be with patients. And then number two, it was just easier for patients to access me without having to go through the administrative burdens of a prior authorization, of all the different codes and rules that they have. So that's the current model that I have. I specifically do functional medicine in the way of looking at the biomechanics from head to toe to help people avoid surgery if they have to. But if they did need to do surgery, I also do minimally invasive techniques to minimize trauma and help people remain active for as long as they can. That's me in a nutshell.
Which podiatry school did you attend?
I went to Des Moines, Iowa,
One, okay.
DMU.
And your class of what year?
Oh, you're going to challenge me.
Yeah.
2011.
Okay.
I try not to look back. I'm trying to
Okay.
look forward.
Gotcha. Isn't that's where Ebony went to school, right?
Yeah.
Were you guys
Our
there at the
star
same time?
celebrity. Yeah.
Were you guys there at the same
No,
time?
I think I had already graduated by the time she came on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, Dr. Tar, your turn.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Sandhya Tar. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My practice is called Direct Podiatry Arizona, and I'm located in the Phoenix metro area, specifically in Tempe. My practice just opened March of this year, March of 2023, and I also have a direct care practice as well. I graduated from residency in 2020 from University Hospitals in Cleveland and moved out here immediately after. I was in an employed position for about 2.5 years. And with my experiences in that position, I was doing mobile podiatry, so visiting patients in group homes, nursing homes, assisted livings. My experience with that position left a lot to be desired when it came to patient care, when it came to having patients be seen in a timely fashion. And that was really just due to insurance regulations, insurance bureaucracy. So after dealing with that for 2.5 years, I decided to open my own practice and be out of network for all insurances.
I want to talk to both of you about starting your own private practice before we go directly at talking about direct care. So, Dr. Tar, you gave a good point about starting in as an employee, basically, right?
Yeah.
And how that has changed what you saw you didn't like, you maybe thought maybe you could do for yourself better, being self-employed. Tell us a little bit more about that decision-making process.
Well, for me, since I wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to be a doctor from the time I was probably 8 years old. At that time, I always knew that I wanted to have a practice. I didn't really see myself as, a doctor employed by someone else. The end goal was always to have a practice. So me going into private practice wasn't a new decision. I thought that once I got into school and started residency, I would give myself maybe 5 years to kind of learn the ropes in private practice before I started out on my own. I kind of went back and forth with it. Even when I was in podiatry school, I remember between lectures, I was looking up how to start private practice blog posts and YouTube channels. So I was always kind of watching that content and taking that content. The reason why I started in 2023, which was a little bit sooner than I guess I was planning to do, was just because of previous experiences at jobs. To onboard patients, for them to be seen by me or another podiatrist would take maybe 3 months. Granted, I did graduate and start working during COVID, so that was some of it. But also at the same time, if a patient needs care, 3 months is just too long to wait, regardless of what's going on. Some of my patients, especially when I started working 2020, it had been 6 to 7 months since they had seen a podiatrist. So imagine someone needing routine foot care, diabetics. I had a lot of patients with dementia, Alzheimer's, patients with traumatic brain injury that just couldn't take care of their feet. So 6 to 9 months of not seeing someone, I was very overwhelmed that first year. But then even when those patients were caught up, still for ingrown toenail removal, for example, here, at least in Maricopa County, with insurance, the wait is still 3 to 4 months, even if they're infected. And that's just, it's unacceptable. It's sad. It's really sad. So patients were, for the most part, very grateful for me because it had been so long since they had seen a podiatrist. But at the same time, those gaps in care, those lapses in care, just based on the common system that we're in, can lead to a lot of problems with wounds, with infections, cellulitis, and heaven forbid, amputation in stage or in case scenario. So I wanted to be a resource for those patients that were willing to step outside of the insurance system to say, hey, in the case of, let's say, for example, like an ingrown nail, you could use your insurance. And even in the case of an infection, you have to wait 3 months to see a podiatrist. You could go to urgent care. Or you can see me and pay out of pocket for that service. So the service is definitely needed. I think also just for patients that do not have insurance as well, a lot of times them being served by the insurance-based model can be dicey when it comes to price transparency, cost of certain procedures. So direct care focuses on the price just being very transparent for the patient. The patient, when they come to any direct care practice, they know once the treatment plan is given to them or offered to them, how much they're expected to pay. There's no billing after the fact, surprise bills, things like that. It's clear as day. So that's one thing that I really love about it.
How about you, Dr. T? Your transition from employee to self-employed and going into the direct care system?
I have a contrasting story. I never saw myself as a business owner. I went through undergrad. It was the last year of my undergrad where I decided to take on a real professional career. I was just kind of floating around with my mind in the clouds. I am a dreamer. So I went on to podiatry school. I thought it was pretty cool. Went on to 3 years of surgical residency in Michigan. That was really fun. Did a year in Texas with my fellowship. I just really love learning about what's out there because it's like the more we know, the more we don't, right? At the time, we were all trained and taught that the best type of job was to be employed, that it would be considered secure. But I think the revelation was through the pandemic, and even with the job as I got the employed position, there was just a deep sense of dissatisfaction because I wasn't building my dream. I was building somebody else's dream. And their dream was to make a lot of money, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But my dream was to really be with the patient along their entire health journey. And it was just totally impossible to do that in the insurance-based practice when, like Dr. Tar said, you're having to wait months to be seen by a specialist. And by the time you're seen, there are things that are irreversible that may lead to amputations and things like that. So I was really disheartened by the current process of medicine in that employed position under the insurance. And I thought it was just because I was employed. So I went out on my own and I got onto all of the insurance contract again, thinking that's just how you're supposed to do medicine, is to contract with all of the insurances. And within a year, I emptied out my bank account because I had to pay for the overhead involved in fussing around with insurance. What that looks like is the insurance billing software, the time and resources it takes to be on the phone with an insurance company who may take 40 minutes plus on hold. And when they answer, they accidentally hang up on you, and then you have to spend time for staff to do that. That also means it's a high volume practice because the more you can make more money by seeing a lot of people. And I didn't find that to be very rewarding. So an average day could look like 30 to 50 patients in a single day. So with that comes with a few minutes of interactions. And that wasn't who I was. That wasn't the type of care I wanted to give, but I didn't know any other way. And then I learned about other different practices doing the cash model. And then I just kind of dug into, like, why would somebody do that? Because we were never taught that before. And then I saw how easy it was for a patient to just pick up the phone, speak to the doctor directly, and get seen the same day. I thought that was amazing. And we've gotten so far from that interaction that I wanted to do old school medicine, really simplify the process, make it easy to be seen so that you can get better faster. So it was around 2020. At the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't call it the pandemic at that point. We were just like, something's going on. But that was the point I decided, well, I need to decide now so that I can have a brighter future. Because one thing that we can guarantee is that insurance are going to get more and more restrictive, and their payments are going to get lower because everybody wants to make a little bit more money. But that's not medicine. Medicine is not a profit-only business. It's a people and profit business. So I like to put people first before the profits. So that's how I transitioned out.
See, for my story is that I finished New York College, then I did residency and fellowship in Brooklyn, and in 1999, my partner and I, we've been partners since. We had actually in '98 we attempted to buy a practice in another part of town, and that went south quickly. We went in there, things didn't go well. The contract was not feasible to us, and so we just ended up parting ways. So we decided to just continue to stay as partners. Excuse me. We continue to stay as partners, and we found a location way across town, still in DC. And so we've been here ever since. Of course, DC, Uncle Sam is the biggest employer, right? And there's, a lot of industry here. So the vast majority of the people that live in this area have health insurance, either through their employer or what have you. I think DC proper, the citizens is well above 90% of citizens here in DC that have health insurance. So we got into the insurance game right off the bat. Yeah, it was a struggle. First, you're right into the game. You just started. Nobody knows you. The insurance companies don't know you. Why should we put you on our panel? So it took a while for us to get into some of the private pays. Medicare, Medicaid, that was no problem. That just took a few weeks to get involved with them. But when you talk about the Blues, the Aetnas, the Cignas, and all that, they don't know you. So you got to be around for a little while before they let you in. And that's one of the pitfalls of the insurance model of healthcare. Is very difficult for new doctors no matter how well they're trained, to get into the fold, right? So, but we continue to plug with it, and we flirted with doing what you guys are doing before it was called direct care. Uh, we were giving patients the option of having a, uh, a cash pay membership, if you will, type of thing. I think they call that basically like a concierge medicine now. And I want to talk to you guys about the difference between direct care and concierge medicine. But we've done that. But here in DC, when we talked about dropping all plans when things got very frustrated for us, uh, we had a lot of patients say, "Hey, doc, we like you guys, we like your service and everything, but we'd rather use our insurance." And so we kind of let it go by the wayside because of the heavy insured population here. We don't come across too many people here in the DC area that have no insurance, and that I'm gonna say basically just got here to the United States. But otherwise, we're still in the insurance game. Yes, we're still fighting the battles on a daily basis, but we figured out ways to keep things going, keep things afloat, and make things profitable for ourselves, take care of our families and employees and the community. But I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. First, I want you two to talk about, doesn't matter who goes first, the difference between concierge medicine and direct care. Whoever wants to go first.
Happy to take this on because there is a misconception that direct care is concierge, where direct care, because it's cash, it's only catering to wealthy people, and that is a huge misconception. Concierge comes from the idea where you have a membership, an annual membership, just to retain your physician as your doctor. But that physician may continue to bill insurance on top of that membership fee. So you're just getting faster access. The benefit to the patient is the doctor might be around the clock available 24/7 in any form, text, email, physically. The benefit for the doctor is that they can also see fewer patients. So instead of having to see, the 50 patients in a day, now they've narrowed that amount of population to fewer people who want to pay into that membership. That still puts you in a sticky situation where you're dealing with whatever the insurance demands of you, whether it be in the way of how you bill or how you chart or how you order things. You're still at the reins of the insurance, which works for people like primary care doctors, for example. This is a big industry where it works for them because the service for them is there. It's year-round care as you age and all that. For specialists, direct care seems to make a lot more sense where you completely opt out and people use you as they need you because we can solve problems really fast in a couple of visits. We don't really need a long duration of time with our patients. So direct care is just a cash transaction. In some instances, you might be able to offer a patient the super bill that may include the office visit code and maybe some of the procedures that you do that do have a CPT code. That's how insurances decide how they pay for you. But oftentimes when we're free from insurance, we have the ability and the freedom to offer innovative options that insurances haven't caught up to trying to pay for, or they just flat out refuse to pay for. So it's a lot more forward thinking in direct care.
Yep, I would agree with that, especially being able to offer services, procedures that insurance just won't pay for, unfortunately. Like PRP is one that at this point in time, insurance doesn't cover. So if you have someone that has tried, multiple different things for their foot pain and nothing has worked, maybe they've tried orthotics, they've tried changing their shoes, they've tried steroid injections. We've, tried kind of like that whole algorithm that we use, for example, for, I don't know, let me name something, plantar fasciitis, for example. So, not everyone will respond to those treatments, or maybe some people don't even want to do something like steroid injections for a multitude of different reasons. So where does that leave these patients, And I think it's, just a good idea to offer other options to people that either don't want certain procedures for whatever reason in the insurance realm, or if there's something that they're interested in that could potentially work for them, being available to say, hey, this is an option for you. If you've dealt with foot pain for weeks, months, years, for people that are trying to avoid surgery because of the risk of surgery, the downtime, things like that. I think it's just good and healthy that everyone have options, and that way people can make a informed decision about their health and what direction they want to take it. So
For both of you also, you both started out, even in your individual private practices, once you left employment, still in the insurance form of providing healthcare, but then you transitioned to direct care. How was that received by your patients? Did they pretty much in lockstep stay with you, or was there a certain amount of attrition? What was going on with that? Dr. Tar, you can start with that.
Well, for me, the 2 years or 2.5 years I was employed, I was an independent contractor. So I was seeing patients at their homes, wherever they resided, group homes, nursing homes, memory care facilities. So there wasn't really a stark transition to direct care, because me personally, even though I was billing for insurance covered services, but I didn't have a practice at that time. I was working for other entities. So me starting this practice has, always been a direct care model. Those patients, the patients that I was seeing in independent contracting positions versus now, there's not a lot of overlap or no overlap, at least yet. It's two very different patient populations for now. So it's been pretty separate. So for me, my perspective is kind of different because I didn't have an insurance-based private practice that I then transitioned to direct care. Just when I opened, I decided, after all of my experiences, that I was just going to go the direct care route. So,
how about yourself, Dr. T? What was your patient's experience when you made the transition?
Well, some of them just really hated me at that point. They're like, well, I can't see you anymore. And I said, I need to keep my doors open. There's just no way I can keep it open. So you have a choice in choosing how you pay, and I'm making a choice in choosing how I want to run my business. And sometimes they don't align, and that's okay. I'm not an emergency room where I have to see everybody. There are choices. There are neighbors down the street in which I have their cell phone number for if patients really wanted options. So it really just came down to choice and opportunities and just the value that I have. I found it really hard to understand because I have a very particular skill set that nobody else in my community has. But if people don't value that, then that's okay. They have other places. That's the point, is to have choices. But when you don't have a choice and you just go to whatever your insurance network offers, and then suddenly you have a bad outcome that could have been easily prevented by knowing your choices, then that's where the problem lies, is that the people who tend to find me most valuable are those who've been failed by the system. Because insurance will pay for surgery, but they don't pay for the things in between. And those things in between, more conservative options, help a lot of people. So it's the mentality of I only want to do what my insurance pays for could actually harm you. So I had to go in with the understanding that people will choose where they want to pay, and I have no influence in that. That is their decision. But to remain true in the work that I do and the value I offer, that door is open for people who do value that.
Oh, so where you guys are now, and in the process, tell me how the being in direct care medicine for a few years now, how that's helped you become a better doctor, and how that has helped you with your relationship to medicine in general.
For me, it's honestly, direct care has brought back my love of medicine. Last year for me, I was just fed up with everything, fed up with the current job that I had, or the job that I had at the time. I was exhausted from seeing 30, 40, 50 patients a day, exhausted from all of the administrative burdens that working for that company, especially that doctors had to carry. Um, again, the insurance bureaucracy, there was just so many things, and I was so tired. And during that time, I read a couple books. One was TJ On, Dr. TJ On in Chicago. Read his book. I came across, actually, it was one of my friends in New Jersey that reminded me of Dr. T. So Dr. T and I, we had followed each other on Instagram for a while. I feel like from the time I was in residency, maybe second, third year residency. So that was before COVID. And, I would see her post, but I was so in my own world. I saw it, but I didn't really absorb it until my professional life kind of started to disintegrate, like 2021, 2022. And one of my friends, she was in a similar situation, was going through some really tough situations at her job, not being compensated. And she said something to the effect like, oh, I want to be like Dr. T on Instagram. I want that type of practice. And I said, oh, I think I follow her. Let me go look at her Instagram post. So I remember I binged your Instagram post and I said, oh my God, this is it. And that kind of sparked or turned on a light for me. So direct care, I had followed some other doctors when I was in school that had direct care models, but at the time the conversation was, oh, it works for primary care. It doesn't work for specialists because of A, B, C, D, E reason. That was 2016, 2017. So I thought, oh my God, that would be an amazing practice to have, but I don't know if it works. So, I continued on with residency and employment and things like that. So I think Dr. T, especially being a podiatrist, you were the first podiatrist that I came across that had that model. And that just kind of made a switch in my brain for me. Like, if she can do this, I can do this too. And so direct care honestly has breathed life into me that I know I wouldn't have if I would have stayed just where I was in the current insurance panel. Going to work is a pleasure. I wake up happy, fortunate. I honestly didn't used to do that before. I used to dread going into work every day because I knew it was just kind of the burdens, the bog down, the assembly line of having to see X amount of patients. And, a lot of times, especially when you're working for larger organizations, they don't care how the patient is doing. They don't care if the patient heals or not. They don't care if the patient overcomes whatever issue they're having. Their main goal is money, and how you generate money is seeing as many patients as you physically can. And they don't care about what that does to you physically, psychologically, seeing 30, 40, 50 patients a day. I had an epiphany. One of my best friends also told me around that same time last year, I was telling her how many patients I had to see, and she's not in healthcare. And the first thing she says is, oh my God, how do they expect you to actually see patients well when you have to see that amount of patients a day? She's like, when you go to a therapist, for example, a therapist doesn't see 30, 40, 50 patients a day. They don't even see 20 a day. They maybe see 8 on the full day, 5. You've got 1 hour slots so that they can totally focus their energy on you. Therapy especially would be, your mental health realms would be very different if, let's say, there was 4 to 5 patients in a clinic and the therapist pops in, let's talk about your childhood, 15 minutes, and run out. Oh, hold that thought. Let's talk about, oh, you're getting divorced. Oh, okay, well, wait. But that's what we do in the physical arts and physical medicine. So once she said it like that, I said, oh my God, what am I doing? I need to get out. I can't do this anymore. Getting to know my patients truly, truly, truly on a personal level, because I'm not rushed, because I don't have 4 other patients waiting for me, because I don't have phones hanging off the hook. I can take my time, like truly take my time and breathe with them and get to know them and not worry about all the other stuff in the background. So direct care has truly, truly, truly been a blessing for me, honestly. So that's what direct care has brought into my life.
So, Dr. T, quick question for those who aren't quite up to speed with how it works. So, is there like like insurances have a fee schedule for those who aren't versed in what a fee schedule is? Insurances have basically a menu, if you will, for what they pay for certain type of visits or procedures or what have you. So is there a similar type of thing that's done in direct care, or is there like a blanket fee? How would you describe it, Dr. T?
I got distracted because my daughter is creeping in here.
Oh, nice.
So you're talking about the fees, how it's just like going to a restaurant. You want some things, you itemize it. So I have an office visit fee of at 30 minutes or 60 minutes.
Mhm.
So it's either 275 or 450 for my time, for my expertise. It took us 10 years to get here. Why not? So it's straightforward, it's clear. If procedures are needed, then those are itemized as well. Patients will always know before I touch them what the cost of things will be, and they will always have the opportunity to choose. Because if I do something that's in network, it's always to the benefit of the patient to know that. And so I can often refer them out to a trusted colleague in the community, or if they're conveniently already there and they want it done right now that they're in front of my face, and I just tell them the fee. And oftentimes they value their time as well. They're like, I'm already here, I already trust you. And the price is very obvious. So there's no surprises in that situation. So it's like a menu, like you said.
So, Dr. T, what I'd like you to do now is to discuss your course, how you came about developing your course, and then Dr. Tar, how you got to be involved in the course and how it's helped you.
Oh, I'm glad you talked about this. I created this course because one didn't exist for me. I feel like I have a very specific need, and I had to run my business my way, but I needed some flexibility in doing that. All of the courses that I did take was very specific to the individual who created the course, but it didn't really fit the model or the community that I lived in. So I wanted to design a roadmap to help people, no matter where they are in the country, to know just the steps it takes to start either opting out or to start from their training or their employee situation, what that framework looks like. And it's everything that you're asking, such as who do I serve? What's the price point? What are the things I need to start up? What is the budget? And direct care is, when I created the course, it's called Launch in 12 Weeks, Launch Your Direct Care Specialty Course in 12 Weeks. And it's just a framework that you can divulge in, whatever time period fits for you. It lives forever. It's the same business concept that I've devoured from different disciplines, not just medicine. And I wanted it to be easy. But on top of that, because everyone is in their unique position, I do a coaching call every month, once every month, where everybody joins together. We're a small, tight community supporting each other and helping troubleshoot some of the problem areas that is specific to each person's individual needs. So it's not just like a book or a course that lives on its own. There's a real human being behind it supporting you every step of the way. And I meant to have this incredibly affordable because I believe doctors need to stay in clinical practice. We can't have all the good ones leaving. So I really want doctors like Dr. Tar to stay in clinical practice, to do what they love, because that love gets expressed in the way they care for patients.
How long ago did you start the course again?
This was an idea from 2 years ago, and it finally manifested last year. I did a preliminary coaching group. I did my research, try to pick out the questions that was most frequently asked. So I was building it on the go, and it finally got launched this year. And so I started, we're on call 3, or so we're on our 3rd month of the coaching calls.
So, Dr. Tar, tell me how you got involved with Dr. T's course.
So this was probably last summer, last May or June, after my friend made that comment, like, oh, I want to practice like Dr. T. I went and looked at all of your Instagram stuff. So there's a Facebook group that, to make a long title short, it's called Pod Mom. So the female podiatrists in the country, we have a Facebook group, and Dr. T is very active in that group. So she started advertising her course and then advertising a separate Facebook group that she had for people that were interested in going into direct care. And at that point, I was settled. I knew that I was going to have a direct care practice. So I joined her Facebook group, and I was a part of that inaugural coaching group. And I think we started August of last year. It was 9 weeks. So we had a call every week, homework, things to work on. And it was just it gave me community. because at the time, even though I wanted to do this, and even though the idea of direct care isn't a new idea, but in this current healthcare climate, you are going against the grain doing something like that. I think especially as a specialist, especially as a podiatrist, having a direct care practice, or it can seem like you're going against the grain. So for me, I was kind of searching for someone or a group of people that were either interested in starting this type of practice or had started it, what their experiences were like, and just kind of a mentor, inspiration in a way to say, okay, well, this is where you are now. You're kind of in the brainstorming phases, but where can you be 3 years from now, 5 years from now? So that's why I got involved in the group, and it's been amazing.
How versed would you say you are now, Dr. Tar? How comfortable with it are you? I know you said earlier that it was the best decision you made for yourself personally and professionally. Where are we? Would you say you're ready to train or give great advice to someone who may be sitting on the fence on doing something like this? Okay. So what let me interrupt you. What would you tell somebody, whether they've been in practice 20 plus years like myself, or they're coming right out of the box, right out of training, and they're looking at all the different options?
And looking at direct care as an option, I would tell them that, especially if, all of us at this point go through residency, you might have had an employed position, or you might have been in private practice, like owned your private practice before you're trying to make this decision. I would just say, look around you. I can say, even for me as a student, I saw certain things in clinic that I wasn't quite comfortable with, but that really snowballed in residency. And that isn't a knock on my residency program. That's a knock on just kind of the nature of healthcare in general. And I remember I had one night as a second year resident where I was on call, and it was just a long day, exhausting day, seeing again 30, 40, 50 patients. You're running between rooms. Patients are frustrated because a lot of times their issues aren't being addressed in a 15-minute time frame. But you just have to kind of do that, hamster wheel type situation. And then on top of that, you're getting consults at the hospital. Surgeries get bumped because of a whole host of situations, and we all are familiar with this. So there was one night I was still at work, probably at 10 p.m., and I just told myself, like, I'm not going to do this once I get done. I don't know how I'm not going to do this, because that was the norm. That was the standard. It was just expected that you graduate from school, you do a 3-year residency, you get a job at a hospital system or private practice, and that's just what you do until you retire. And I just thought to myself, I want to do something different than this. I want to tweak it. Because I knew, it's one thing when I'm here, young by myself. I have no other responsibilities other than myself, but I want to be a mom one day. I want to be a wife one day. So it's like, how do I seemingly devote so many hours to something, seeing 30, 40, 50 patients a day, you're on call at a hospital, this, that, and the rest of it, without sacrificing that time with my family or just that personal time with myself. So, and people have asked me about direct care since I announced I've opened up my practice. I've had friends that said, I left certain practices. I left the country because of just the insurance realm and the insurance bureaucracy and practicing medicine in the States. And a lot of them were like, I'm so proud of you that you decided to go down that route, because we all, especially at this point now, a lot of doctors are hurting. And I hate to speak for everybody. I know that there's probably happy doctors out there that are happy and content with what they're doing. And that's great. That's honestly a blessing. I'm so happy for you. But at the same time, there are so many people that are hurting. There's so many people that change jobs after a year and a half, just trying to claw for something that they can feel right in, and it never feels right and never feels good. So honestly, I would just tell people, look at the last couple years and see if that's what you want to replicate. If you don't want that, then direct care is an option. Yeah, I won't say it's for everybody, but like Dr. T said, before we have kind of a mass exodus of people leaving medicine because they're so fed up with the insurance-based model, look at direct care. Give direct care a chance before you completely go and get into something else, because we do need good doctors. We need people that are happy. We need happy doctors. Happy doctors make for happy patients. I honestly believe that. Once we are good and we are healthy mentally, physically, our patients do benefit from that. But if we're going through a lot of different things on the back end, then that transfers to our patients too. So,
Hey, Dr. T, have you received any backlash, if you will, from other podiatrists in your community?
All day long, you know, you get a thick skin at some point, and you're like, I'm not here for everybody. I'm not ice cream, you know, like I'm here for people who need me. So you were asking Dr. Tar about what she would say to somebody who's on the fence. And I do find that people who are younger, who are out of training, are more open to a different model than those who have been established for a long time. Because when we're in the business for a long time, we're very attached to our patients. We've had decades of relationships with the people who trusted us, right? But when you start to cut the cord, patients start to resent you. They feel abandoned. But the reality is they have the freedom to choose. They had the freedom to choose to see you before, and they will continue to have the freedom to choose you. So you're not abandoning anyone. You're just changing your business model so that you can be sustainable long term. So yeah, the people who have been in practice longer have a more challenging time adopting direct care, but it's not impossible. And for some, they wait until they're at the very last breath to make a decision. And I don't want that to be the case for us who don't deserve to be burned out before we make a change. This is just an option, and you can slowly implement it by gradually opting out of the worst payers, seeing how it works in your community, you know, providing proof of concept, and then you start to get momentum, and then you can decide, I'm really comfortable in this hybrid model, or you can go all out. I have doctors in their retirement age who should be retired, but they're like, I discovered direct care and this has been way more fun. And they're never going to retire. They're going to die in their clinic. You know, it's just, it gives a different type of life when you're ready to accept that difference.
Um, hey, this has been very enlightening for me. Again, for a guy that's been doing podiatry now in private practice for 24 years and have kind of bounced in and out of what you guys are doing. And in this environment here in DC, it's very enlightening information you've given me, and for those who will be watching this. I think everyone should understand how insurance is done. Part of the problem, I think both of you would also agree with, as residents, we're not really trained on how healthcare is delivered in this country or anywhere else for that matter. Well, I mean, we're really not. You're trained to be doctors. You're trained to learn these skills, and then at the end of your training, the doors open. They kick you out the nest and wish you good luck. Right. And so I think what you're doing is extremely valuable, Dr. T, what you're doing with your course and with your group on Facebook. I'm going to have all this information from Dr. T and Dr. Tar in the description of this video that you can check them out. If you want to get involved with Dr. T's Facebook group or with their course, you can reach her through there. If you want to have a conversation with Dr. Tar and get a little bit more about what her experience has been like, you can reach her there. Again, I'm Dr. Jefferson. Thank you all very much. And like all of us podiatrists say, the most important thing to do is to take care of your feet. Peace out.